What's going on, everybody? This is Duke White. You're watching Real Life with Duke White. Um, we've got a very, very special announcement. I'm extremely excited about this because, well, I'm always excited when I got the man himself, Madison Downs, up here. Madison, it's good to have you up here, man. Appreciate all the work you're doing in the community, all the work you're doing with the young people in the Washington area, because you actually go a long way to get to work.
Yeah.
So we appreciate everything that you do. Uh, and I see it looks like you're getting back in the fight, man. You actually, now you're putting together. Not only are you putting together a school called Madison Xavier, but you're putting together fundraising debates that allow the community to finally benefit from these political debates.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for having me back on. It's always a pleasure to be with my brother Duke.
Yeah, man.
We had some fun times back in the day. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
so, obviously when we ran back in, what was it, 2020, 2020, something like that, we went through some things and we learned some things. We learned what it was like to go through an entire campaign, and we learned what it was like to lose. But we took away with that from that a lot of wisdom, and so now uh, I'm up here, in Culpeper, Virginia, and I'm using that wisdom that I learned in order to try to better this particular district. Just start with my community, and then one step at a time.
yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you what, man. The things that we learned is that the political realm is desperate for
Mhm.
true leadership.
Right.
I think that's a position that, truthfully, only men of God should be really leading in certain areas. Because I believe this personally,
Hmm.
that only men who truly care about people should be leading this country. And I think that you will always represent the warrior, because what people don't understand about the warrior mentality is that we give it all. We may
Right.
not always,
Right.
yeah, we don't let the facade stop us. The integrity level is a little too high, a lot of too high. The integrity level is too high to allow emotions and all that stuff to stop us. So I do believe that you now being one of these leaders who are making a difference in a community, especially with our young people, you understand that, but you also understand too that our businesses, our elderly, these are all things that people. I know that you have a big heart for, the communities that not only that you grew up in, but that you live in now. Definitely been on some adventures. There were some things that went down in Culpeper that were just absurd. And I gotta ask you, man,
Yeah.
what do you think is actually happening to leadership right now? You know, why is it so hard for leadership to just do what it takes to help people?
Well, I think that a lot of people are get into leadership roles because they want to better themselves. I think there's a portion where, you know, there's always a portion where they say, okay, well, yeah, I can do something for my fellow man, um, or for mankind, or for my society. Um, but I think that really, you see, we're in a different generation now. Most of the leaders are younger than we are now, right? Most of the people who aspire to be leaders, we can say that now, are younger than us. And we've never been in this situation before, right?
Yeah,
We're also Generation X. There seem to be there's just a different zeitgeist. The spirit of times are just different nowadays. Insofar as picking out a leader and saying, well, picking out flaws. We all have flaws.
yeah,
None of us are perfect. But I think that it's hard to find people who actually have a heart for the people. And we
right.
saw that when we were running. We saw that when we
That's
were running.
that's crazy.
You know, and you notice how I always say, even when I refer back to the run for Congress back in the day, I always refer to it as when we were running.
Yeah,
Well, it's that's the mentality that I think is a rare one where you don't normally hear that out of leadership. It's not a we thing, it's an I thing. And
right.
I think that oftentimes people forget that if they aspire to be in a leadership role, then you are aspiring to be a servant leader and servant first. So uh,
That's huge.
if there is a missing component to all that, I think that what that is just remembering that you are a servant first, and so and I don't necessarily see that a lot in leadership today.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's this real confusion about power, and I think it's so awesome that you put together these debates because at least the community can benefit from it somehow. With
Mhm.
you opening up the school, I call it, you know what I mean? I call it the school of destiny because you really are building something that's profound and that's going to help young people really discover who they are. And with you being in the school system for so long, man, and with you being in the military and in the school system for so long, and you and your brother, like I think you guys are going to be amazing leaders. I think that you're going to build this thing in such a powerful way that the community can only benefit from it. And your dedication and commitment to your country, your family, man, you guys are gonna really rock this thing, and I'm so super proud of you for that. Now, when it comes to these debates, a lot of times the media gets involved, or there's corporations involved. And I saw on the flyer that you have questions already set. That so
Right.
you're actually in charge of this debate. You are putting the debate together, and you're asking questions that are not like based off some corporate agenda. These are questions that really are coming from the heart of the community.
Yeah, as corporations have a tendency to take over, and buy elections, and oftentimes what we get are generalized questions that don't cause people to actually think, and more importantly, the questions don't get to the meat of what we like to call kitchen table talk. How am I going to vote
Right.
on? How is this person, if they get in office, what are they going to do in order to lead my district, in order to funnel money into my district that's going to help maybe bring in industry or lower gas prices or grocery prices so I can eat? What are we going to do about electric prices? With all of the data centers coming in, how's that going to affect my electric bill? What are we doing with electric reserves? And I'm speaking in layman's terms here, but a lot of Virginians don't realize that we run out of electricity. We run out of, think about this, we run out of power. We run out of electricity very, very often. And then we have to buy it mainly from the state of Tennessee. So, a lot of people don't realize that. And then we're buying it at a higher cost. So, what is our representative going to do in order to mitigate a lot of these expenses for us? So what I did was I came up with a list of 10 questions. Um, Once I came up with those questions, I sent them to the party leader out here in Culpeper. She loved it. She loved them. And then we blasted them out to the prospective candidates. And
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to speak with the candidates about the questions that they received. I gave them to them because what I want is we don't want any "I got you" moments. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? That doesn't do anybody any good. We want people to actually think about the questions uh, that are pertinent to the people,
Yeah.
and perhaps even devise plans toward whatever it's going to take in order to make or to bring up, elevate the quality of life for the constituents of the seventh.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And here's my thing that I want to ask you. And I'm looking here. The 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 situation that we're dealing with Virginia in particular. One of the things I'd like to ask you is where do you stand on the conspiracy with voting? With the ballots and everything like that. I know that there's look, man. So a lot of stuff that we saw as entertainment growing up is becoming reality.
Yeah,
I watched from Star Trek, the sliding door. I was like, that's the most awesome thing ever. And
yeah,
then you go to Food Line and there's a sliding door.
yeah,
And Scotty beat me up. Now we have cell phones and this and that. So I'm like, I don't even know
right,
where this is going, right?
right.
Um, so the idea of messing with voting things, I just like to know your opinion on it. Like, where do you stand on the whole conspiracy? Do you believe that people tamper with votes and things like that, that's even possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been a thing since the inception of the United States. I mean, absolutely. It's always been here to say that cheating and voting has never taken place, and it's a new phenomenon in America, and it just started during the Trump era and all that. It's ridiculous. We
Yeah,
know that this has been around for a long time. It's just nowadays everybody has a camera. Everybody
yeah.
has film,
It
everybody
has
has
to tell
live,
everybody
so
everything. Yeah,
everything is magnified. The old heads didn't have to deal with what we have to deal with. So the
right.
level of stress has gone to the exponentially, gone
Yeah,
up exponentially. So I think it's very, very difficult. It's interesting because even though we have all this technology, we have our phones. We can go live. We're in the information age. You can get whatever you want. The system has been, um, what's the word I'm looking? We have been indoctrinated into the system so good that these things continue to happen right in front of our face, and nothing is done about it.
yeah,
What they do is it's like there's a oh well, APAC just bought an election, and you know uh, they bought a new congressman, so that their person won the election. So people get up in arms about, hey, well, this isn't right. This isn't right. Oh, by the way, the NBA finals are on the way, and so it's the next. They dangle the shiny object, and then boom, it's
yeah.
over with.
Oh,
So
the
the
distractions are
Epstein,
amazing.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
distractions are crazy.
So there's a real problem insofar as accountability to what we call "quote unquote" the elite, and that's a real problem that needs to be dealt with. And we want to put people in office who are going to remain loyal to the people rather than to the Federal Reserve note.
Oh, the Federal Reserve notes. That's the money, folks, in case you don't know.
Right.
The Federal Reserve note. So, one of the things that I think about, and I'm glad you brought up the whole media and where things are going and just why it's so important for us to really be in tune with what's going on in our country, what's going on in reality, because there's a when there's misinformation, man, there's a lot of fear.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons I'm so glad that you're doing these debates is because there has been a distrust amongst the media because everyone tells the story according to their narrative, and you are creating something where people can see the whole story, what people actually said. There's no cutting for an agenda. What like First of all, just where do you believe that the media manipulates and things like that and creates narratives?
Oh, absolutely. I think anybody would say yes to that.
Okay.
They want to spin it to and it's unfortunate that you have medias that are quote left leaning or right leaning, where they should be um, neutral.
Just
So
information.
yeah, so in essence, if you turn on Fox or MSNBC or CNN, what you are getting are entertainment shows rather than actual news, and that's very unfortunate. because it all becomes propaganda.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a bad look for news reporters to be in movies, because I'm like, well, now I know you can act, and now I know that you know how to tell a story, and
Absolutely.
maybe this is like you mess up my trust factor when I
Right.
see you, and that's why, well, again, why I'm so glad that you're allowing debates now to be filmed, and just, there is no agenda. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you'll be able to see the entire debate without trying to make somebody look stupid, or like you said, the "I got you" moments. That was really good, because each organization, whether it's CNN, whatever, Fox, they're all trying to tell the story of the candidate from their angle and what they want you to see. But you're actually doing it from the perspective of, this is what happened, this is what was said, these are the candidates. Now, this is a Republican. Can you explain the process of how they choose a candidate of who is going to represent the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? How does that process work? By the way, just so you guys know, he didn't just run for Congress. He is profound in the education system, in the school system. So I just want to make sure you know that this is not just somebody who has passion for the community. Like, he is an actual, qualified. He's got 95,000 degrees. He loves education. It's, I'm picking on you, but I'm not. But it's like, the guy loves education, so you're not just talking to anybody. But can you explain to us how this process works?
Yeah. So what happens first is you have primaries. Some, in the Republican committee or on the Republican side of the House, you have Republican and Democrat, and you've got independent now that are the three majors, and we know that over the course of history, there have been many other different parties, but we've settled in on Republicans and Democrats for now. And so on the Republican side of the House, what typically happens is there are two ways. There's either a primary or a convention. So in this particular case, this is a primary. And a primary is where, particularly on the Republican side of the House, now Democrats can have primaries as well. Back when we were running back in 03, I'm sorry, in District 03, and in 2020, on the Democrat side of the House, there was a convention. And that typically happens when they've got a person within their particular party that they already like. They really don't want to see that guy go, but they still have to go to some semblance of a procedure to show that, hey, we're being fair about this. It's okay. And so back then they had Bobby Scott. Bobby Scott is still there today. He is their man, so they did what they had to do. Now, in primaries, oftentimes you can have anybody who votes in a primary. So you can have Republicans vote in a primary. You can have independents vote in a primary. You can have Democrats vote in a primary. And what happens in the primary, which is what this is, the winner of the primary then goes on to face off against the opposition's chosen person in what they call the general election. And the general elections will be held in November. Early voting for primaries here started 2 days ago.
Gotcha. And now, so basically, this is like on each side, they have to go through a filtering process of picking their person,
Right.
and then those two people. So it's kind of like the playoffs.
It's like the playoffs, man. And that's how politics have always been in our family.
And because I want people to. I think sometimes one of the things that happens is, because one of the things I want people to understand is, to me, you don't get to complain about how the system works if you're not trying to make the system better. Does that make sense at all? Like, even if we don't agree, it's like, hey, at least be involved in the future of our people. So when you say things like, oh, I don't vote, or like, all right, well, don't have an opinion either.
Right,
You know what
right,
I mean?
right.
The thing is that I noticed that, with the heat that happened with, President Trump's campaign and the whole Biden and Kamala thing, that was just, it was madness. I know that if people don't get educated in these areas, we're going to see triple that madness that's coming this next term, because there's a lot of passion, a lot of emotion involved. But at the end of the day, what's going to come down is, did you vote? You know what I mean? Like,
You got to vote. You got to
yeah,
vote. You got to be involved. You can't complain if you're not willing to put in the time and effort in order to try to make a difference where you live at.
yeah,
Otherwise, you truly are, a slave, and
right.
because you're allowing yourself to be subject and subjugated to everyone else's will except for your own, because you decided to not allow your voice to be heard.
Yeah. Now, I do have to ask you this question, especially with uh, the relationship with our churches
Mhm.
and our community, and and businesses. What can everyday people do to help our communities, be more cohesive and flow together? And that is from the church to the business. What is it that we need to do to bring that connectivity back? Uh, and I am going to say, like we grew up in. I mean, we did grow up. And
Yeah,
the reason why I can say this is because it goes across the country, that we know that something changed in our generation, and
right.
we're the middle babies right now. You know what I mean? We're the middle child of history in America, and we do kind of get to tell on everybody. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so, but what do you think we need to do to strengthen our communities?
Well, every strong community begins with a strong family, right?
Yeah,
So, building strong families, a strong nuclear family, uh, that's where it begins. But, a large part of the issue with families, that families have been under attack because of an economic struggle.
yeah,
And the economic struggle has been forced upon people, through by creating inflation. Uh, you have inflation, but there's a lack of raises, you know, so there's a lack of income coming in.
yeah,
So it takes often two and three incomes just to make ends meet, just to meet the bare minimum, you know. So that makes it very hard for parents to be able to raise children. We were the latchkey kids, right? So um, we had both our parents working. We did, right? I did, and
yeah,
so,
yeah,
and but we were oftentimes outside, but it was a little safer to be outside. There's no place for kids to go to be safe without being picked on, and they get
yeah,
picked on by everybody. They get picked on by the Karens. They get picked on by sometimes officers, and who are really trying to do the job and do the right thing, but you have children out there who don't know how to act because they're not being trained correctly. And we see this in Washington with the takeovers, and children just running amok up there. I see it in the school systems every day, and really what that boils down to is accountability. And the accountability, again, falls back on parenthood and establishing strong families. But then there's a lot more that goes into it than just that, man. Um,
I know that you said that about building strong families, and there's just this reality where there's been a disconnect between the church and the community. There's been a disconnect. I used to hear, hey, support homegrown businesses. There's been a
right,
disconnect between the community and the responsibility of supporting local independent businesses. Chain companies, big corporation has definitely taken over and pushed mom and pop shops out of Virginia for sure. And what do you just? I know you're not running. I just want to know your
Right.
thoughts. You know what I mean? But what do you feel like we got to do to get people to get that entrepreneurial spirit back? To say, I am going to start a business. We are going to build our community. We're going to take our community back. Because that was a really cool thing to grow up and to know who these business owners were. And now everything is chain and corporate. And I don't even like the fact that it's called chain. These are chain
Yeah.
stores. But
Yeah.
but what do you think we have to do to resurrect that entrepreneurial spirit that really built America, to be totally honest with you? What do you think we need to do that?
Man, you're reaching deep. See, what I'm
Yeah.
trying, I want to not put my personal perspective out there because I
I
don't
got
want
you.
to
Yeah,
influence
you're
the
right.
teaching.
You're
But
right.
since you asked, and this kind of, my wheelhouse on this particular question, then, I want to stay
Yeah,
out
we
of
gotta,
it,
yeah, gotcha.
But, that goes back to education, brother. You know, uh, a lot of people are unaware of how they can use new technology like AI. Schools are not teaching entrepreneurship. You know, um, schools are, it falls back to education, and the system that we have across the country right now, so far as education is concerned, is abysmal. It's a failure. Um, and there's no two ways about it. We are failing our youth, our future generations educationally, and as a result of that, we're falling behind insofar as the global market is concerned.
Mhm.
And we have to consider things like the global market nowadays, even though, as we know, I believe in Americans first. I'm for the home team, baby, all the way. Now, I don't have a problem with rooting for Brazil in a soccer game. You know, I don't have a problem with that. But I'm always for the home team first, and I think that we ought to have the best education, which we're not getting. When you walk into school systems and you're worried about whether or not a kid is going to shank another kid, and I'm not talking about the Carmelo Anthony case, because that's just one of probably hundreds that take place every other day across the nation. People are not
Mhm.
taking note uh, at what is actually going on in these public schools, and nothing is being done about it. Uh, Good teachers are being drummed out uh, at the behest of lobbyists and lobbying groups who sway policy um, in a negative light, in a light that is directly contrary to anything that would be healthy to a strong nuclear family. So there's a lot that goes into that question, which at another time I will be very happy to
Yeah.
go into that with you. Um, but I've heard some of the talking points of the candidates, and there are three really good candidates that are going to be um, at the forum on Tuesday, and I like all three of them, and I want to be able to give them an opportunity to be able to espouse upon what their ideas are
Without
and
having any
what
influence. Yeah.
what a strong seventh district would look like if they were the person in charge of the seventh district. And even in answering this question, as much as I want to go into it, I feel like I'd be given, cookies and biscuits away, man. And I can't do that. You can't do that
No,
to me.
you can't do
You
that. You
can't do
can't.
that to me
I
because
got you,
I'm
man.
not running. I
Just
don't have,
no,
I don't, I don't have
first of all,
I want to, but this is,
yeah, I'm gonna say, however, listen,
and I
guys,
will say this. Let me say
I'm working
this.
on them. I'm working on them, folks.
Let me say this. This is in conjunction with Madison Xavier School of Destiny. So, Madison Xavier is a 508 non-for-profit. So, what we do for one, we do for everyone else. We're not pushing one thing over the other, one party over the other, anything like that. Even though this is a Republican primary, uh, we're trying to uh, bring awareness and raise money. Um, in order to help with the education system here in America. So that's what that's about. So
Yeah,
we just so happen to have some great patriots who want to let people know how they can help out and help our district and our country out.
you know what's what's interesting about you doing fundraising debates, this concept is so powerful because usually when it comes to politics, usually the people only get hurt. They don't benefit from it. Especially
Yeah,
the debates. You watch people that are supposed to be our leaders barking at each other, fighting at each other, and uh, and nobody, even when there's a loss, especially
yeah,
if you're on the same team, there's a loss,
right.
and you watch them flip, and then they have to support each other, and then instead of like
Yeah,
focusing on the subjects,
yeah,
political
yeah,
game is such a dirty game, and it's like
yeah,
I love the fact that you're doing this, saying, "Hey, we're gonna put this out there. This is how we're gonna really look to the public," and then you're saying that it's actually going to have some continuation to benefit young people in their education. And I love how you put that together because I just don't. As of right now, people are so discouraged by politics.
Well, dude, I think this. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that's very important in politics, and it's a business game, whatever you want to call it, where people can often eat their own, and we often forget because politics is personal, because it really does hit home, right? You got to know how you're gonna pay for eggs and milk, you know, and it's important who you're electing, and it's important who you vote. Your vote matters; it counts, and it's very personal to every individual. But oftentimes we forget that the people who are running for office are human beings also. So it does, there will be a winner and there will be some losers, but the losers are just important as the winner because they're still a part of the team. And oftentimes, right now there's this gulf, there's this rift between the red and the blue. It's almost like Crips and Bloods oftentimes. And so we forget that in the larger grand scheme of things that we're all one team. And we all have to come together for the greater good of Americans. Every American family, every American child, every American mother and father is important. And it's not about beating down someone, even if they make a mistake, because we all make mistakes. So in this primary, there's going to be one winner and there are going to be two losers. But they're not losers because everyone is bringing a perspective that maybe we hadn't heard of and we hadn't thought of before they entered the race. Everyone has gifts that our Heavenly Father has given them. I can only do what I can do, and you can't do what I can do. But I can't do what you can do. These are
Right.
gifts. These are not things that we look down upon because we don't agree with the manner in which you decide to exercise your gift. And so everyone is important. All three of these candidates are important. Mr. Venderman is important on the Democrat side. I don't agree with a lot of what he does. I don't agree with much of anything that he does, you know, but he's still loved by our Heavenly Father. And he's still an important person. He's an important person historically, and he's an important person because he is in a position of honor. And we need to make sure that we keep that in mind as we go to these polls and we're voting for these human beings that will make mistakes. And so that's very, very important. You know, we talk about making a better society. We talk about being better neighbors. We talk about wanting to walk down the street and feel safe. Well, it starts with looking in the mirror and saying, how can I, one, love myself better? And then how can I love someone who is not me? Maybe don't look like me. Maybe don't think like I do. In the same manner that I love myself.
Yeah.
Uh, that's how we make a better society. That's at least the beginning, in a step at a time. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is
You
everyone
make a
running.
great point.
Yeah, yeah. It's important that we understand that we're all a part of the same team here. And we just
Well,
have to come up with solutions that are feasible, for our communities.
Well, you because of everything you just said, I don't listen, man. If you can't answer because of the situation, because you're doing the debate, I totally understand. But it's just because of everything you just said, I it made me think of the role that our military and veterans play in our
Yeah.
everyday community. And what we can do to encourage them to step into leadership. I see you got your Marine Corps shirt on, your Marine
Yeah,
Corps polo.
my daughter's bought this for me, so I wear it a lot.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
like, man,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of times the reason why we're so passionate about our country is because
Yeah.
we did, sign up to be soldiers and fight for our country, and we do love this country. That's why we were willing to defend it. And there is a different mindset between citizens and soldiers and veterans. But what role do you think that veterans and can play in empowering our community? And if you say, hey, leave the veteran stuff alone, that's part of the debate, then that's cool. But
No, veterans are always, in my opinion, veterans are always first and foremost. Veterans play the most important roles because the skill sets that we learn by being in the military, civilians just by and large don't get to learn. I mean, you have some who may learn some things through playing sports and other social events or social clubs, but none in the manner that we do. None where that on a daily basis at any moment you are can and are willing to give your life not only for the person next to you but for people that you don't even know. Um, Learning that there is self-sacrifice from moment to moment, second to second. Um, it's not something that most people even consider, but it's something it's at the front of our brain housing group. It's something that we think about all the time, always being reminded of our mortality, and willing to give it all in order to make the place a better place for our family members and for our neighbors. So um, veterans bring to the table uh, something that is not really quantifiable. You can't put it in words. Um, uh, that will do nothing but enhance any society. It is
yeah,
the backbone. We're the backbone of the nation.
it's
Uh,
so it's so funny you say that because I think about the majority of the corporations that have actually broken out across the country and that were successful. Were owned by veterans. You know what I mean? Before they got bought out by major corporations, they were actually owned by veterans. And a lot of times, even when I was talking about the mom and pop stores, a lot of
right,
times these were veterans that went into business and opened up these mom and pop stores
right,
that helped build our country and ultimately even a big portion of our childhood, man.
yeah,
And that's one of the most discouraging things to see. And it kind of goes back to that to see that people um, are now afraid to start businesses. And a lot of people are, when I ask people why, because I'm a passionate person, when I ask people why they're afraid to start businesses, when they break it down for me, they're like, hey man, how can I afford to pay employees? How can I afford to, because with everything being so high, like, how can it's hard not to understand. It's hard. Like I go, okay, I get it. But
you try, you try. I know where you're going with this. I know exactly where you're going with this, man. Because I want to jump in and answer, but you know what?
you're
I
good.
can't answer that right
I
now.
know. I
I
got you,
can't do
man.
it, man. Wait till after all
Hey,
this is over with, and we got. You are not gonna get me. No,
I know.
no,
No,
I'm
I'm
not
sorry. I
answering
feel
that
bad, man.
question,
I am
man.
sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Because just so
but
everybody
you're
knows,
right.
this is how we talk. This is how we
Yeah,
talk.
that's how we talk.
I
But
want to
man,
invite
no.
everybody in our conversation, but he can't, right? It's like,
Yeah, man. Because I want to go in on that.
yeah, man.
I want to go in on that.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah,
But
I can't
I
though.
want I want everybody to know that you're talking to people that genuinely
Right.
love our people, and we don't listen, guys. We don't do the
You ain't
white and
slick,
black
dude.
thing,
You ain't
huh?
slick, dude. You're not slick, man. I know what you're doing. You ain't slick, man. I
Yeah,
know what
this,
you're
guys,
doing.
we do talk like this. We
Right.
love this country. Like he said, we would lay our life down before we even knew any of you. So it's
Right.
like that. At some point, he's in the school system. So at some point, we have to be able to see, like, wow, these people. Because when you retire, you can retire. You know what I mean? Like we can retire, like
Yeah,
be up.
yeah, we're
And
done. Yeah, we're
but
done.
when it comes to this fight for justice and love, especially. Our responsibility as being believers in the Father, we have to stay in the fight. You don't get to retire from Him. You don't get to
No,
retire from the
no.
one we believe in. So it's like we have to stay on the fight. We have to stay on the front line because we
That
want.
don't mean I can't pray for a lot of money and a yacht and all
Yeah,
those other things, and I can go run and hide.
right, right, right.
But he'll come find you out of there too, so it doesn't matter. He'll
Yeah,
find
but it's just like when you start seeing the country when I start seeing people living in fear, then
you.
it's
Right,
like, okay, we really got to rise up. People are being raised like not knowing if they can send their child to school, if it's going to be safe. You know what I mean? Things like that. So
right.
I think what's going to be interesting. Listen, guys, these candidates are going to they're going to have a lot to deal with because not only are there a lot of issues to deal with, but in reality, there's just a lot of these questions are not going to be questions that you just every day, like what's your
No, these
favorite
are
color?
very, yeah, these are very different
Yeah,
questions. They are not generic questions. These calls candidates to actually think about how they are actually going to help constituents out in the seventh district. I
yeah,
think that from you know everyone I've spoken to who has taken a look at this set of questions are very, very happy. And that is from the candidates all the way down to fellow constituents. So um, you'll be very, very pleased with what you get and what you hear on Tuesday. And I think you'll be able to walk away from there with a better sense of who actually you want to vote for, and oftentimes that's a very difficult thing because, one of the sad things about a lot of these elections is because of the nature of the questions that are asked, you walk away with generic answers.
yeah.
And that leaves the constituent saying, oh, well, they're so similar. Who's really, I don't really know. They're all seem the same, and so what we don't want are bots. We want genuine people who are going to listen to other real people who have very real concerns, not only for themselves, but for their family members. So, um, yeah, I think that you'll enjoy it.
And here's the thing: this is such a unique concept because usually, like you said, people walk away feeling generic answers, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna have to vote for somebody." They
Right.
do it that way, and then usually they don't feel a connection of putting a politician in office. They don't see the benefit of it. They don't feel the benefit of it, and they just walk away kind of just feeling discouraged, like nothing matters. Where is what you're doing by doing this as a fundraising debate for Madison Xavier? It's like what we know for a fact that something good is going to come out of this, no matter who really wins. That we get to make a difference, and so, man, we're about out of time, but I pray that, man, this goes well. I believe it's going to well. Matter of fact, I know it's going to go well. But I also want the people to really share this, get involved, and man, I hope you do more of these debates because I think this is finally a great way for people to say, you know what, I will watch this debate. It's going to help. At least going to help some kids out get a better education, help them build a better school of destiny and technology and information and give our kids a cutting edge. So thank you for standing on the front line and building this school and finding a way to filter in kind of the brokenness and of our culture today is like, wait, we can actually take all of this stuff and turn it into something beautiful. So I really appreciate you for doing that, man. And this is such a creative concept, and I really do honor your leadership, man. I really do. You know, if I had a hat, I'd take it off. You know, hats off to you, man. But you really are doing a great job. And guys, just so you know, this guy is also history in the making. He's first Hebrew chaplain in the military, the army, right? In the army.
It'll be all of them actually, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, actually, all of them. So he's the first Hebrew chaplain that was on, and when we were running, they tried to be like he wasn't in the. They went from you weren't in the military to you weren't a chaplain to you weren't a Hebrew, and this is like, man, you know. And so we know how nasty politics can be, but it's not going away, and we do know the importance of true leadership. So. And we kind of wanted to do this to inform you guys so that you understand that there are people on the front lines fighting for you. There are people that are rising up, and there are people that are going to hold leadership accountable, and that's who we definitely are.
Yeah.
You know, we want to see the people well informed. We don't want to see people deceived. We want to see people cared for. We want to see healing in our nation. You know, we want to see what God wants. God called us to be leaders of culture and justice and to take care of people. And that's who we are. And brother, you taking care of the young people on a daily basis, you know, when you actually could be sitting in Hawaii, drinking a Long Island iced tea, you know, you could be straight chilling, and you're on the front line still, you know, raising the next generation, empowering our young people, and fighting for American citizens, man. So, like, I appreciate you on every level, brother. You're doing such a great thing. Guys, this is 7 p.m. This is 7 p.m. This is important. 7 p.m. The Culpeper Candidate Forum, Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026, 7 p.m. at Death Ridge Brewery. Make sure you guys come and check it out. Will there be a chance for people to ask like their own question? Are you going to have that? Is that going to be a possibility, or is this
I think that's more of a general thing, or the candidates can do that on their own. You know, they have to. What you're looking for is a town hall, and I feel like if a candidate wants to do that sort of a setting, they need to be in a setting where they're comfortable. Not everybody can really sit and field questions from the field and be comfortable. But here's what I will say, just to kind of piggyback. You know, even if you're not into politics and you just want to come out and have a good time, Death Ridge, they have great beer. If you like beer, you know, I'm a Marine, so, you know, we like beer. So you want to come out, you know, you want to have a good beer. They got good food. There are good people there. The scenery is great. And you get to meet some people who could be prospective leaders in the community. So, you know, if you want to just come out and have a good time on Tuesday at 7, that's the place to be. You know, of course, I'll be there with my magnetic personality just to get all that good stuff and meet everybody and all that good stuff too. So,
you know, man, listen, and this is the thing about community, the community coming together. When the community comes together, man, we're talking about, you know, really truly doing what we always talk about is being family. You know, when that can't be broken, man. So the politicians, they all live somewhere else, but we live in our communities. And when we learn how to take care of each other, when we learn how to take care of our communities, and we got to rise above the whole. Listen, I'm even saying rise above the political divide. We've got to just learn how to love each other and take care of each other. And we understand that there is a real battle of good and evil that's taking place. But I do know 100% that when we learn how to treat each other, care for each other, and respect each other, we can't lose. So anyway, we're out of here, guys. Tuesday, make sure you're there. I'm going to pull it up one more time so you guys can check it out. Because it's important that y'all show up. And guys, if you need more information, just, you know, hit us up in the message box. But we want to see you guys show up. It is going to be powerful. And we're going to have some more information coming to you pretty soon. about how you can check it out, where you can check it out if you can't come out. But this is just going to get bigger and bigger. And I mean, like I said, I pray you do more. I know people are going to have tons of questions about your fundraising debates and what this means.
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to be. So we love you guys. Be good to each other out there.